Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on Fantasy Football Scout. Today as usual I'm joined by Gianni Battici. I'm going to look ahead towards Gameweek 36 and we'll have a look at this week's Gameweek 35 before the 2 p.m. kickoffs. Gianni, how are we keeping?
Yeah, man, I'm really well. It was a weird Sunday morning for me because usually on a Sunday morning we're digesting so much Saturday football and usually quite a lot of FPL interest in those Saturday fixtures. Like by now, I've usually had 6 or 7 of my team play. Yet this morning, I'm looking at it going, I've had no players play yesterday. I had 3 play Friday night, and then a lot hinges on the football today. So I'm super excited for today's football. I've got 7 in action, 3 Brentford, 3 Newcastle, Mo Salah. But yeah, man, you and I should be celebrating because Friday night was a good one for us. We both captained KDB.
Yeah, both Captain KDB finally coming off with a differential return. I haven't got Salah to come, so I'm not quite celebrating just yet. I suppose I'll take my winnings as they come. I also got a 7-pointer from Ruben Diaz, which was quite nice. And like a lot of people, I had Marmouche, who also blanked.
Yeah, I had Gvardiol for your Diaz is similar. I think Gvardiol got an extra bonus point, but very little in it. Just saying your audio is really quiet, Gianni, says Meerkat. Thank you.
I'll adjust that.
We'll tweak that. Yeah, so no, it was a good one. I mean, Man City, us Diaz and Gvardiol owners, probably a little bit fortunate to keep a clean sheet. They are keeping clean sheet, City. I think it's something like 4 in the last 6 off the top of my head now in the league. But in a lot of those games, they are playing tight. Like they're risking a lot. Like they're still committing numbers forward. They're still leaky at the back. They're not tight, sorry. And teams against Man City are still getting plenty of chances. Even in the FA Cup last weekend, we saw Nottingham Forest hit the woodwork a couple of times. So City are getting away with it at the moment defensively, I reckon.
Oh no, for sure. They are definitely still conceding chances. By the way, do let us know in chat if the audio is a bit better. I've just tweaked the settings there. But yeah, City definitely look a bit better from what we've seen in past weeks. Remember a few weeks ago we were saying how they're going to concede every single week, and now they're coming away with the odd clean sheet finally. I quite liked the City guys. I think they're the only team going into this run of games in the last 3 fixtures where you'd want to triple up on them. I don't think there's any other team where I'd want to triple up, whether that's rotation risks with the United and Spurs guys or Liverpool already win the league. There's going to be some rotation there, and Arsenal being in Champions League. So I'm not quite sure where my head is at in terms of tripling up on teams. I don't think there is one. But also, Johnny, we need to speak about Spurs and United potentially getting to a European final.
Yeah, I know, man. Like I went into the semi-finals thinking Spurs will breeze through, and the first leg probably indicates that. But I thought Man United would have some real difficulties. I thought it was a really difficult tie to call, but to go away to Spain and have that comprehensive win, yeah, I mean, it's looking like an all-English final, which will be in Bilbao, ironically. So yeah, that's going to be interesting because again, it's just more, it matters for FPL because it just means there's more likely to be rotation for Spurs and United going into the final now. And the concentration is there because the prize is absolutely massive. We never used to see this where the Europa League winner got Champions League. Well, they changed it. Was it a year or 2 ago? I can't remember when. But now the winner of the Europa League gets Champions League. And that is absolutely massive. And usually the winner of the Europa League would finish in the top 3 or 4 or 5, whatever is required within their league. But we're looking at like 16th and 17th place in the Premier League taking part in a final. So yeah, it's a massive prize where you've got to go all guns blazing for it.
What do you think of that debate? I think it was Jamie Carragher who was the front runner of it, that if United play Spurs in the final, Spurs have no chance because it's United. Of course, Spurs have bet United 3 times this season. I am of the opinion where I agree with Carragher. I think if it was any other team going to a European final against, I always just feel like United step up. Now, again, it is a one-off game, but Spurs are not used to these moments. And the last time we were in one of these was, of course, against Liverpool. So I don't know how to feel about it, Gianni. If we do end up getting there, look, as a Spurs fan, there's no certainties against Glint just yet. So, but if we do get there, I don't know how hopeful I am. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Didn't we see a Europa League final though? Yeah, we did. We saw. So, okay, this Man United team, it's hard to judge because we haven't seen Amarim's Man United team get to a final. But we saw Ten Hag's Man United team, be bad, but they still turned up against Man City in the FA Cup last season and they beat him in the final, fair. But if I look at the Europa League final a couple of years ago, I think it was 2020, Man United lost on penalties to Villarreal. Like, it's no gimme that Man United get to a final and win. Jamie Carragher's, I see where he's going because Spurs have been so weak defensively, but Man United haven't exactly been prime. But this isn't the Man United from when Jamie Carragher was playing, where they turn up to finals and win them. This is a very different Man United, and I think Spurs have got a chance. Of course, Man United will go into it favourites though, but Spurs have got a chance, and you've got elite finishers. If Sonny can be firing well by the final, you've got a chance.
Yeah, so Jonathan Shirley says that's the game that went to penalties. I believe that was the game where everyone took a penalty and De Gea missed. I think I remember watching
it. 11-10 on penalties, I've just checked.
Yeah, that is the one. And I remember watching it thinking, you know, they're going to get away with this. And then De Gea didn't save one penalty or something stupid like that. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about what you just said about Sonny. There is this narrative going around in the Spurs community in terms of what happened with Harry Kane in the Champions League. He was injured and then we played him even though he was half injured, where Moore probably should have played. I wonder if we're going to see something similar with Son. He's got a foot injury and he's going to be back soon, but again, he's not been great this season. Coming straight back from injury, I don't know if I'd rather play players who are a bit better form than him or just throw him in for the sake of it. I don't know if I agree with that. And there's players like Kulusevski who come back from injury now who hasn't looked great either. You can really see an impact when his confidence is down. His fitness isn't great. I don't know if throwing him into a European final is the right thing to do, but again, maybe that's a discussion for another day. And how that impacts FPL in terms of Spurs assets, I'm unsure. With Son and Kulusevski, with Son being out and Kulusevski just coming back, you'd imagine that the likes of Tell gets lots of minutes in the league. And I wonder, is that a case to go a bit differential? Again, I could be completely wrong about that because I don't know what Ange's going to do, but it's interesting to try to think about what Spurs assets are going to start.
Yeah, but even for me, with both Spurs and Man United, even if, let's say, there's fringe players like Tell where we can go, okay, we feel like they're guaranteed to play every league game. And I know that's not a guarantee, but let's say there was. I'm still not interested because the priority for these clubs isn't in the Prem. Therefore, and their form in the Premier League has been so bad, I just think there's other teams we'll be chasing. And when we look, maybe our opinion changes today, but when we look at teams like Brentford, the reason when I wildcarded last week, I went triple Brentford was they ticked all the boxes. The fixtures were there, something to play for, good team that always create big chances. And they went and turned up at the City ground and scored a couple of goals. Teams like Brentford are where I'd be putting my attention in. I mentioned earlier, I've got triple Brentford. I'm excited for that. And I think Bournemouth are another team, like something to play for. They really believe they can get European football next season, just like Brentford. And that's where I'll be turning my attention.
Yeah, I agree. I just wonder, is there elsewhere to go? I feel like everyone in the Twitter stratosphere has the same-ish team. You've got one of...
That's why I wildcarded last week, mate. My team is completely differential to everyone's because I wildcarded. It's not the optimal team, but at times you'll benefit because it's like, oh, I don't have an Arsenal player. Well, everyone else has double Arsenal defence and they conceded 2 yesterday. So if ever there was a time to go different, it's the run-in. It's easy for me because at my rank, it's so bad that I can just go throw caution to the wind. But I feel regardless, if ever there's a time to go differential, it's the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with that. On that note, Gianni, let's get to my Game Week 35 team. Let's see how we're getting on.
Come on.
So,
how nervous are you about Mo Salah?
How nervous am I about Mo Salah? I don't think I'm too nervous because I've dealt with him.
I've not captained him, but he's still 120% EO at my rank. So for you to not own him is so ballsy.
Yeah, it's not new though for me, so I'm not actually too worried. He's played against worser teams where I've not owned him, so it is what it is at this point. So let me quickly run through my team. We're currently on 33 points. I believe that's a game week rank of around 250k. My actual rank is 171k at the time of recording this or streaming this. I've got 5 players who've played. I've got 2 City assets and 3 City assets and the 2 Arsenal guys. But let me quickly run through it. So Raya on goal, 3 at the back in Munoz, Saliba, Diaz, 5 in the middle in Eze, Gordon, De Bruyne captain, Sarr and Mbuemo, Two up top, Isak and Marmoush. On the bench, I've got a 9-pointer from Martinez, a 6-pointer from Konsa, Byrne and Solanke, and my transfer for Gameweek 35 was bringing in Brian and Buemo for Saka, like everyone else in the community. So currently not in a bad spot, providing Mohamed Salah doesn't do anything crazy. Gianni, in general, this was an interesting week with the likes of 4 players that a lot of people own, all over 100% EO due to captaincy being so split. It's been a weird week owning popular assets like Marmoush, Salah, I don't own, but and Mbuemo. There's a good few that I've been hoping to blank this week, and it's kind of makes it for a boring week for me, no?
I know. I don't think we'll see I don't know if we've seen a week like it yet in FPL this season, where there's like 4 options for big name players over 100% EO for many teams. And again, I don't think we'll see it for the run-in. I think now for the final handful of game weeks, it'll be like, there's 1 or 2 players, probably 2 players a lot of the time over 100% EO. But to have 4 is remarkable. And for those that aren't aware, unless you've captained a player, if they're 100% EO at your rank, then they work against you, right? So, for example, Salah's 127% of my rank. For every point he scores, it will work against me. I hope he doesn't score goals today, despite owning him. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying. But that's FPL, isn't it? And I like the fact that there were differential captains this week, and the fact there's 4 players over that. And actually, one of those 4 isn't De Bruyne. Like, we both went De Bruyne as our captain, so we didn't even captain a player highly owned. But yeah, you can still cheer a few of your points. Interesting, you've still got Gordon, mate. Got to ask you about that. You need a start from him. Do you reckon you get one?
Yeah, it was again ballsy to play him this week, considering he's not got many minutes at all. But I do think his time will come. I just don't know when it's going to be. I just thought playing him instead of the likes of a Konsa would have been better, providing I thought they weren't going to get a clean sheet. So that's why I threw Gordon, because he will come off the bench regardless.
Did you have sold Gordon to get to Mbermo, though? Or did you not have the money to do that? I know you sold Saka to Mbermo.
Yeah, I didn't think Saka was going to play. It probably was, maybe in hindsight, the wiser move, but I don't regret it with Saka's blank now. I'm sure if Saka had got a 10-pointer, I'd be kicking myself, but it doesn't look so bad so far, I guess.
Yeah, okay, fair. Mate, the big one for you, and a lot of managers that wildcarded when you wildcarded, a lot of managers that free hit in 34 when you free hit, they own Triple Palace for obvious reasons. They wildcarded Triple Palace in, and Palace had the double-double. They're still left with Triple Palace. Palace have got the FA Cup to focus on, but again, we spoke about Brentford and Bournemouth. European football is still there as an option, as a potential, as potentially there for them. How do you feel about Palace moving forward? Are managers out there in the chat? Let us know. Are you looking to offload your Palace assets? Are you looking to keep them? The fixtures are fine. I saw a lot looking at maybe going Mateta out for like a Vissa. You don't own Mateta. Some may have gone an Eze or a Sarr up to an Mbermo if they could afford. How do you feel about Triple Palace for the run-in when you look at their fixtures moving forward? Are you likely to keep them all?
I don't like it. I really don't like it. But I look at where I'm going to make moves, and I probably have different priorities, which is unfortunate because I would like to get rid of them if I could. For me, I think I would love to hold on to Eze and Manoz. I don't mind that. Sarr, I think I'm more than happy to offload. Again, he is the cheapest out of the lot, so I do have a decent bit in the bank, I believe. And again, Solanke's on the bench, so he's not going to get much game time in the league, I can't imagine. So I think it's time to get rid of him. For who? Wissa or Evan Nilsson are on my radar, I suppose. Gianni, before I keep waffling on, I've seen a message from Maliki in chat. He says, have you told Choi the big news yet, G? Is there something I'm missing here, Gianni?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Other than, I think maybe he's referring to my captaincy on KDB. Not sure. I've mentioned it 3 times already, mate. Yes, I did captain Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay. But yeah, other than that, Gianni, before we look at my team for Gameweek 36, there's no standout options for me. Again, I feel like Wissa could go there. I don't mind it. Other than that, though, I don't really know what to do. What would be great if Gordon started to get minutes again.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine that happening.
You've got a problem, haven't you? Because you're like, does that have to be your sell? Because Gordon's about to play. Is it Chelsea and Arsenal in the next two?
Yeah, let me check. Quickly, hold on. It is Chelsea and Arsenal. That's right.
Yeah, see, that's tough.
That's real tough.
I reckon Gordon's an easy sell for you if he doesn't start today. I know you'll be thinking, oh, he's going to start next week, but you can't keep going into it with, oh, he's going to start next week. And when the fixtures are good, it's hard to sell him because he could start this week. But when it's Chelsea and Arsenal in the next two, I think you can offload. Like it's clearly a good fixture, Brighton. Even if you get half an hour of Gordon today, which is what I think you might get, you could still get points versus Brighton. But to move him on, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, who are the obvious go-to midfielders to buy at the moment? I'm not sure because you've got on Burmo and he was the one everyone was going after. Jared Bowen is another one. Like, could you look at Bowen? Maybe?
Yeah, Bowen is the one I love for sure as well, but I just don't know. Would you not prefer to get rid of Solanke and just keep Gordon on the bench? Because you know for sure Solanke, well, I feel like Solanke has no chance of playing in comparison to Gordon, where he has a chance.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't think of Solanke there. And Vissa's an obvious buy. Like, Vissa's amazing. He was a lock for me on Wildcard. Vissa's the reason I didn't have Cunha on Gameweek 34 when everyone was free hitting. I was like, Cunha's an amazing pick, but I felt like Vissa was the better long-term own. Now, Vissa obviously smashed it in 34, and I was regretting it. But I do think long-term, Vissa's perfect buy. Solanke could go, you're right. I don't know how I feel about... who was the other option? Oh, Watkins, I think Nick said in the chat. I wanted to see Watkins get 90 yesterday, and he still didn't. Even with no Rashford, who looks like he could feature by 37, by the way. Really annoying that Watkins didn't get the 90. Like, there's something there with Emery and Watkins. Like, I was looking at buying Watkins in the next week or two. I don't think I want to now. I needed 90, and I got 70 from him yesterday. That wasn't good. I don't know if Watkins is necessarily a buy now, given the fact he didn't even get 90 when there's no Rashford around.
Yeah, it is a bit unusual. I really don't know what to make of that either. I'm a manager who loves Ollie Watkins as well. I don't think I could go there either. But I'm not exactly spoiled for choice in the forward positions that I love. He's definitely one I would still consider, regardless of the 70 though. I mean, he hasn't played too consistently since coming back from injury, I don't think. So maybe it was just one off, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he's come out and said about how he's knocking on the manager's door for starts. He said that post-match on Sky Sports a couple of weeks ago. So I think fitness-wise, I think he's there. And I think he's just frustrated that he's not necessarily first choice when all are fit. And he's an incredible FPL asset, Watkins, because he gets big chances. His conversion last season was obviously outstanding. 8.9 million. It's a lot of money to spend if you're not guaranteed 90, and we're certainly not guaranteed 90. It's Bournemouth, but then it's the two teams we discussed at the top of the show, Spurs and Man United, who are teams we're targeting. It's a really good run for Villa, but yesterday, again, a couple of big chances missed. I think he clocked an XG yesterday of only, I think this FPL site says 0.21. I thought it looked higher than that, but yeah, 0.21. But yeah, Rodgers put him through on a one-on-one. I think there was a header he chucked himself out and missed. I think he's a non-event now for me, Watkins, which last week I was saying he's a buy. It's amazing what a week can do.
Yeah, no, it's mad, and definitely one to keep a tab on. Before we move on to my Game Week 36 team selection, Gianni, let's have a look at some of the fixtures for today. How are we feeling about them? Let's do some score predictions in chat. Let us know how you feel about the upcoming fixtures, and if you are enjoying the stream, be sure to hit that like button. We do appreciate you giving us feedback also. But let's start with the Brentford and United game, Gianni. How are you feeling this might go? I'm going to call... Actually, I want you to go first, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Home win, 2-0.
Okay, I'm going to say 2-2 draw.
Okay.
Yeah, even though United...
I backed Brentford big time. Like, I backed Brentford in my sleeper predictions to beat Forest. I wildcarded with 3 of them in. I'm very pro Brentford at the minute. I'd be shocked if they didn't win this football match. But yeah, I get it in the chat. A lot of saying, Andrew's just said 1-1. Jonathan 3-1 Brentford. Yeah, you on the draw. I mean, with Man United, nothing surprises you, I guess.
Exactly. You never know what you might see. Let's move on to Brighton and Newcastle. This is going to be a game with goals, in my opinion. What are we thinking?
Yeah, agree. There's goals. Newcastle could edge it maybe 2-1, but I'd see both teams scoring. And I've got Livramento, and I don't expect a clean sheet. But I'm also hopeful Jacob Murphy gets me points. And Isak, if you haven't captained him, he's probably around 100% EO at whatever rank you're at. So you probably don't want Isak to bang too big. 2-1.
I'm also going to say 2-1. And Manon says 3-1. Joey says 4-0 Brentford. Matteo says 2-1 Brentford. 5-0 says Brandon. Maliki says 2-0 Newcastle. You won't be too surprised to see that result, but I feel like Brighton always have a goal in them. That's the only thing. Matteo says 2-1. Yeah, so let's move on to West Ham versus Spurs, Johnny. Again, this could be anything. A lot of people have brought in Jared Bowen for this fixture. And the odd few even put the captaincy on him. As a Spurs fan, I really feel like this is going to be anything. But I'll tell you something, we're never, ever going to roll over for West Ham.
No, you're right. Like, when you ask Spurs fans what their big, like, the hatred there between the two sets of fans is up there with Arsenal Spurs. There's not much, West Ham Spurs do not like, they don't like each other. So, and Chelsea Spurs as well is obviously a big one. Poor Spurs for London derbies, they've got a lot of hate with three teams there, whilst most just have the one. I didn't bring in Bowen despite having the funds to do it from Cliver, and I was really tempted. It would have meant benching Murphy, which I didn't like doing, but only because with West Ham, even when they're playing a team that are bad defensively like Spurs, under Graham Potter especially, I question how many goals are in this team, even when they're playing a bad team. So I can't see West Ham scoring loads of goals, but they will probably score. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
I can't even give you an answer, to be honest. I really feel like this could be like 3-1 Spurs or 2-0, something like that. I don't think it'll be a quiet game at all. I feel like even with Spurs playing rotated players, it's gonna be a fun game for sure, and that's the one I'd be tuned into at 2:00 personally. Even as a Spurs, like, I don't want to watch that because we've nothing to play for, but I'm gonna watch it because I know it'll be entertaining. Let's move on to the big one of Sunday, Johnny. Chelsea versus Liverpool. As a Chelsea fan, I'll leave you go first again.
Oh man, I just don't know with Liverpool. Like, obviously it's a week of celebrations, but then there's players like Mo Salah that haven't been partying and will just be as professional as always, and his output won't change. But there will be, you would expect, a slight dip in performance from the club, from the team, in terms of we're over the line now. But of course, they're going to want to go full strength. They're going to want to play hard because it's Chelsea and there's a rivalry there. But Chelsea have looked good at home. I'm gonna go for a 1-0. No, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea win.
Okay, I'm going to say 0-0. This just has like a bore in Stamford Bridge. Nothing in it, in my opinion. Again, watch me be completely wrong and it's a slugfest. But I'm going to say 0-0 for that game. Jenny, how do you see that game going though?
Mate, I would take a slugfest because if Chelsea get a point, I don't think it's the end of the world. It depends what Newcastle do. We have to remember the race for 5th is so on. And let's assume Man City are getting top 3. So then race for 4th and 5th is 2 teams between Forest, Villa, Newcastle and Chelsea. That's a tough call. I feel like Forest could miss out, but I also feel like Chelsea could miss out. Villa winning yesterday was big for them. Newcastle, if they win today, is big. Chelsea needs something. If Chelsea lose today, it's going to be tough to make it. And Chelsea have got the most difficult running of the teams. But Chelsea needs something, and I fancy him to get something. So I fancy a point, worst case scenario for Chelsea. I really am optimistic on this one, and I don't quite know why.
How are we expecting Liverpool to line up, I wonder? Diogo Jota start? What are we thinking?
Yeah, I reckon it might be. I think it will still be pretty full strength, but I wonder if he'll go Jota and Gakpo and Diaz gets a rest, because Diaz has been playing a lot, has a lot of starts. I can't see Mo Salah missing a game in the run-in, by the way, everyone. I fancy Salah to start every game and get 90 most games. Really telling that Klopp wanted everyone to be involved. Sorry, Slot wanted everyone to be involved when they beat Spurs last weekend. So he made 5 subs, all attacking subs. Guess who stayed on the pitch 90 minutes? Of course he did, Mo Salah. You're not going to see Salah lose many minutes this season. So for those thinking of selling him because you don't think he'll get starts, no, he will. He's chasing every individual accolade going. The one guy that won't get the starts is Darwin Núñez. he's probably off in the summer. And I don't think Slot feels like he needs to start him. But players like Jota and Gakpo, it's always one of them that starts, right? I reckon both might get the nod this time round, and they'll get a lot of minutes, but maybe Diaz misses out. Bradley versus Trent is going to be interesting for owners. Not sure where he goes at right back.
Yeah. I don't know. People are saying that they can't see a 0-0 in chat. On double down, I'm gonna say this has 0-0 all over because Chelsea they're needing the result here. Anyway, Johnny, let's move on from that. Again, also I'd be surprised to not see Jota start. Just because they've already won the league. Crystal Palace versus Forest, Johnny. You said you don't expect Forest to finish in the top 5. We spoke quite extensively throughout the weeks of how they're definitely finishing in the top 4. What has changed for Forest in the last few weeks?
They're getting twitchy. They're getting nervy. Chris Wood's not outperforming his XG. These things were happening early in the season. They've had a couple of like they had one game. I think Murillo made a couple of errors. They had a couple of errors at the back, which you don't see from Forest. That's still tight. Like Brentford Forest wasn't a high XG game. Like that could have been 0-0 and Brentford got the 2 goals. But what Forest are now struggling to do is score. And Palace are a good team at Selhurst Park. And with the momentum of winning their semi-final versus Villa and a bit of time off in between, I've got Sells and I don't think I'm getting a clean sheet. I'm going to say this is a 1-1 draw, maybe a 2-1 Palace win.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2-2 draw. A lot of predictions for this game in chat. Joey says 2-0. FPL Meerkat says 1-0 Forest. Manon says 2-1 Forest. Nick says he needs a Chris Wood hat-trick. I think that is unlikely. Yeah, I think this will be a cagey game. I wouldn't be surprised at the same time to see a Forest result, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, fair. No, there's going to be an interesting game Monday night. I'm dreading it because I feel like a lot of the managers around me have got triple Palace and I've got none. And I've just got Matt Sells. I think I benched Nico Williams. But yeah, it's a few in the chat saying, Meerkat says 1-0 Forest win. Manon says 2-1 Forest win. I hope you're right, guys. I hope you're right. I worry for Forest a little bit now. I think they're getting to it. They've got the best run-in of all the teams we've mentioned. I just think they're getting twitchy, and maybe teams have clocked how to play against them. One thing for sure, if they're going to get European football next season, and let's say even they get Champions League and have to go full strength every midweek, they ain't going to have the same Premier League season. We've seen it before when a team that sort of squad size makes Europe, we then see the Premier League form really suffer. I think we saw it with Brighton when they had a good European run a season or two ago. Top of my head, who else? Even Newcastle, they hit the Champions League. It was everything, and then their league form suffered. I thought Aston Villa this season at times, off the back of Europe, looked bad, but then they went and were really smart in January and made the squad bigger and better. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see next season what we see with Forest, because I don't think we'll see as many clean sheets, and I don't think we'll see them challenging for a European spot. Even if they go and spend money, the European distraction will really hit them next season, I reckon.
Yeah, going on to what you said about Villa, Emery really, really clever with transfers as usual. So smart, like amazing. Such an underrated manager, by the way. Let's move on from Arsenal managers and take a look with the last 10 minutes on our stream, Johnny, at my team for Gameweek 36. Now we've 3 things to cover in this section. First question is, who's my transfer going to be for Gameweek 36? I'll run through the team so everyone that is listening can have a good idea of my team. The second question is captaincy. This is going to be an interesting week for captaincy, in my opinion. And the third is a general question. I'm currently 170k again. Mo Salah still to play. 3 game weeks left. Is finishing in the top 100k realistic? I think if I were to do that, I'd have to get captaincy right 3 game weeks in a row. Let me quickly run through my team before we get on to any of those sections. On goal, I've currently got Martinez. 3 at the back in Munoz, Saliba, Diaz. 4 in the middle, Eze, Gordon, De Bruyne, and Mbeumo. 3 up top in Isak, Marmoush, and Solanke. On the bench, I've got David Raya, Esri, Konsa, Byrne, and Sar. Now, I'll be straight up, Johnny, looking at my team for Gameweek 36. I don't like it at all. I've currently got the armband on De Bruyne, and I feel like that's an obvious one, unless we hear otherwise. So it's either going to be De Bruyne or Marmoush for me. I don't like any of the other options. Sure, you have the likes of Mbeumo. Where should we start, Johnny? Will we start with captaincy?
Yeah, and like you, I've got my bus captain on De Bruyne. I'm just not 100% sure he starts. And I know he should in theory, but Dean Jones, who I stream with for Chasing Green Arrows, he's a journalist with good connections. He said a while back, De Bruyne is going to get the home games, but might not get the aways. And he's kind of been like De Bruyne is getting the homes, and he should get the aways too, by the way he's playing. But the fact he didn't play in the cup semi-final against Forest was like, oh, he's not a set and forget for the running then. And I just wonder if he gets the Southampton fixture. I really hope he does after his performance. Again, player of the match on Friday night. We could get a team leak though, right? Because I think City are in the first game, aren't they? Like it's a 3:00 kickoff and the deadline's 1:30, so should get a leak. If we hear he's starting, I'm with you. I'm going Captain De Bruyne, and Burmo's the obvious other option.
How are we feeling about Erling Haaland's minutes? I think he'll be back very, very, very soon.
He's going to be back for the semi-final, right? But to be back for the semi-final, he's going to need minutes versus Southampton. Sorry, not the semi-final, the final. He was never coming off the bench on Friday night. And I can tell you why I think this. In the second half, Marmoush went down injured early in the second half. And he got treatment. Now, when you see a player getting treatment, you always see someone warming up. Haaland was laughing on the bench with Jack Grealish. He wasn't told to go and warm up. I reckon there was never a plan to play Haaland. If Marmoush had come off, he wasn't coming on. Haaland wasn't coming on. Haaland was never getting minutes, which makes me think he ain't starting Southampton. He'll get 30 versus Southampton.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking also. But is that enough to throw you off captaincy on the likes of a Marmoush?
No, because we have to remember, Haaland back in the team shouldn't affect Marmoush starts. When Haaland got injured, I think Marmoush had played 7 of the 8 Premier League games. They played together.
Yeah, that's completely valid. But with De Bruyne also in the picture, I just wonder if...
True, De Bruyne wasn't in the picture then, you're right. But I mean, Marmoush, you just put him out on the wing, as we saw. Like, he played on the right. I did not like him on the right on Friday night. It's the first time we've seen him on the right at City.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, going from the 3:00 kickoffs that you said, the other captain that I did mention was Brian and Mbeumo versus Ipswich away. Do you fancy that, Johnny, or is there anyone else that you'd be keeping your eye on?
No, I really like that, man. Like, I do think Mbeumo's a legit, proper good captaincy option next week. Ipswich dead and buried. Brentford, as we said, so much to play for. I like Mbeumo and Visser actually. Like, you probably go Mbeumo, but if you don't own Mbeumo, Visser's a legit captaincy option too.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like a lot of people will default again on Salah. Do you think this is a week not to do it? Now, if I'm being honest, I actually don't mind it at all. Liverpool at home to Arsenal. I feel like just because to rub salt into the wounds of Arsenal, you could see Salah playing and just doing well. I just wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and Arsenal coming back from a Wednesday night game in France. If that game goes 120 minutes, even more reason to target a Salah captaincy shout. I don't mind it either, to be fair, mate. I tell you what, Isak has got Chelsea as well. So we will see lower ownership for the big dogs. And the big dogs have been Isak and Salah of recent weeks. So that, again, will be interesting. I think a lot will go in. If Mbeumo scores today, a lot will go in Mbeumo.
Yeah, so we're coming towards the end of the season. I wanted to ask you about Isak. Is this his last season at Newcastle? I feel like it should be. He's too good. Again, Newcastle have been great again, but I always feel like Isak should be playing for one of the top 3. Think he'll get a move?
If Newcastle get Champions League football, there's a chance he stays. If they don't get Champions League football, he's off in a heartbeat. And they'd be right to cash in on him again if they're not getting Champions League. But if they do get Champions League, they'll be doing everything they can to keep him. So, yeah, the only move I can see is Liverpool. He's tailor-made. Liverpool need a 9. This is perfect. I can't see Arsenal spending the money, and I don't know if you'd want to go Arsenal, but Liverpool is such an attractive offer.
going to Liverpool can never ever go wrong, really, can it? Like, I feel like if you plop any half decent striker in that number 9 position, he's gonna get goals. And then if they're good like Isak, the best in the world, I mean, it could be something ridiculous. If you join Liverpool, man, it's gonna be scary again for another season. To think that Liverpool made no signings and they went and won the league, I don't know. And a lot of their key players signing new contracts again, Johnny. Do you think it's Liverpool will be heavy favourites going into next season?
Oh, yeah, they will, rightly so. Like, especially if they sign Isak. Like, even if they don't, the fact they've managed to keep Van Dijk and Salah is great. They're probably losing Trent, fine, but they'll go and sign a right back. Like, I don't think Bradley will be there. The reason I think Bradley's going to get a fair few starts for the running now, they need to work out if Bradley is going to be their first choice right back, if they're buying a backup option or a young player to rival him, or if they're buying a first choice right back and Bradley's still backup. So that will be interesting. Again, even left back, there's a lot of murmurs around the likes of Kirkes going to Liverpool. I think they need one. Robertson isn't going to play every game. I don't know if they rate Simicast enough to be a guaranteed first choice next season. So fullback's going to be interesting, but then rest of it, they're so well set. Best keeper in the league, best centre back in the league. The midfield's been amazing this year and will only get better because it's the first year playing together. You know, Sabotslai, McAllister, and Gravenberch, what a three that's been. We didn't quite know that would be an elite three, and it is. And then up top, they're great. Out wide, strength and depth. So the fullback positions will be interesting for the summer. And if they sign Isak, if they do those three things well, strong favourites for the league. Strong favourites.
Yeah, no, a thought just came into my mind. So last week we talked about what we'd price players, and Jonathan Charlie says Gyökeres is one a Premier League team should buy. Be interesting to see if the likes of Gyökeres, Osimhen or a Sesko join the league. That'd be cool for pricing. But going back to what we said about Isak, it's mad to think that we'd probably price a Newcastle Isak at around 10.5. But if he were to join Liverpool, he has to be like 12, surely? Ish.
Yeah, and let's assume Mo Salah's going to be like 14 next year, right? So let's say Salah's 14 and a half. You can't have Isak at 10 if Salah's 14 and a half. Like, he needs to be much closer to Salah than that with his output playing in the same team. So I would expect if Salah's 14 and a half, Isak to go up to maybe 11 and a half. Like, and that would give us a real decision to make. You probably not going to go both of them because there's going to be other expensive options at Man City, at Chelsea, at wherever, Arsenal. And it'll be like, do I spend the extra money on Salah or do I gamble on Isak? And I think a lot, if Isak's 11 and Salah's 14 and they're both at Liverpool, a lot will go Isak. They'll save the 3 million.
You reckon? That's interesting. I kind of hope it happens.
I hope that, mate. It'd be amazing if that happens, especially because we'll have Haaland at around 14 as well. We'll have, let's say Chelsea sign Osimhen. He'll be 10. We'll have the Palmer Saka headaches as we always have.
Arsenal get Gyökeres, that'd be fucking great.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. Like,
it'll be great for the game. And Spurs be left in the dust. Okay, so before we wrap it up, let me tell you what I'm doing for Gameweek 36, or planning to do. So I think I will be moving on a Gordon / Slanky for sure. And probably playing a Sarr versus Tottenham, to be honest. I think if I go Solanke, it will be to a Wissa. If I go Gordon, I think that is an unknown for me yet. I don't know who I would go in that area. But it will be one of those two players making way. I don't think there's much decision to be made on who I want to start between Martinez and Raya. I think I just gotta start Martinez versus Bournemouth. I can't see a world in which Liverpool don't score. And also, playing Saliba or Konsa going off that train of thought, maybe I might as well double up and put all my chips in one pile. So, Gianni, I see you nodding your head. I would do that.
Yeah. I would bench Arsenal defenders next week. They ain't keeping it clean off the back of a trip to Paris and Liverpool at Anfield. I can't see it. I don't think I can see it. And Konsa and Martinez, who kept cleans against Fulham, again, we talk about teams something to play for. Bournemouth do, but Villa defence is looking better in recent weeks. You could go eggs in baskets there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will come to that. Again, just Villa, I know they kept a clean sheet last week, but they've been so poor defensively, and we say it on a weekly basis. Okay, Jenny, we'll wrap it up there. Anything else you want to say?
No, good luck, mate. You've mentioned Vissa. Any midfielders that do take your eye at Gordon's price point?
No standouts except maybe a Bowen.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see where you're at next week with that. Well, yeah, we'll tune into your team on Twitter. Make sure you're following Chai on Twitter. Make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe buttons right now on YouTube. And yeah, let us know if you like the Sunday morning streams, guys. I usually stream on my channel Sunday morning, but the last 2 Sundays I've not done the Sunday debrief on my channel. So I've said to Chai, let's just do Scout on Sunday morning, which we'll probably do for the running now. So if you like that, let us know.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.